Holy shit, dude.
Holy shit.
So, Marvel had their San Diego Comic-Con panel today, and we're going to split this into 2 YouTube videos and 2 separate podcasts because it's easier for us to record all of this separately because, well, they dropped a lot. It's absolutely crazy because they said before this happened that they were they're kind of saving their bigger announcements for D23 and that they weren't doing that much here at San Diego Comic-Con.
Bruce, come here. Come here, Bruce. Am I not muted?
No, you're not.
I should be muted. Bruce, come here. Come here, Bruce. Bruce! Why am I not muted?
Okay. I'm just going to start back from my first line, and I'm going to write down to look from like 30 to 130 that I'm going to need to edit this. You know, Aaron's coming up now, so I'm just going to wait to record. The recording has started, but we're not actually saying anything yet.
Oh, okay.
Because Chris at Danny's house, and I guess the dog started barking. It was really loud. Oops. Oh, there he is.
Oof.
Oh,
What?
The Red Sox shirt.
I don't know why. Like muting my mic is not working.
I don't know. Hey, Aaron, you want to say what you just said a little louder?
What?
No, it's okay.
Chris, Aaron, you sure?
What'd you say?
I forget. It was like what 24 to.
Oh yeah, the Red Sox got smoked. Yes, it was like 28-4.
Yes. When you sat down in the Red Sox shirt, she was like, "Ooh, Red Sox. That's rough."
It was only 4-1 today.
Yeah. We're toast, man. We're a game ahead of the Orioles. We're still recording, you know.
5.
Yeah, we're still recording.
23-point loss. Yeah.
It's runs.
All right.
Runs, not points. Goofy.
All right. She is done making fun of the Red Sox. All right, I'll just mark down to 4 minutes for the recording. I'm just looking at I'll look at 30 seconds to 4 minutes for the recording.
All right.
I'm guessing that was Danny's dog barking.
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. So Marvel's San Diego Comic-Con panel happened today, and it was kind of crazy because they said that they were saving the bigger stuff for D23 and proceeded to drop quite a few announcements, quite a few release dates, and, well, they announced the entirety of Phase 5, and they confirmed. This is going to sound a little weird as we're in a podcast because we're splitting this into 2 podcasts. So we are starting with recording about Phase 6 and then recording about Phases 4 and 5. So we might repeat ourselves a little bit here in the beginning, just introducing it. But they announced all of they announced that Wakanda Forever is ending Phase 4. That Phase 5 starts with Ant-Man Quantumania coming out in February, and they've announced release dates and release windows for all of Phase 5. And then Kevin Feige gets up there, he's standing up there, and he goes, "But let's talk about Phase 6." And that's what we're going to talk about here in this episode, is their San Diego, the part of their Comic-Con panel about Phase 6.
I guess that's what happened at that retreat they all went to.
Yeah, I guess that Marvel retreat was planning how all of this was going to be done.
Yeah.
That's right. So, yeah. Phase 6 is starting with Fantastic Four on November 8th. November 8th, 2024. Now, I was watching this, not watching it because they didn't live stream it. I was following this panel as it was going. I was watching the IGN live stream as they were talking about it. I was following some other Twitter accounts, especially after we got like the She-Hulk trailer, and I was like, "Oh, it's starting. Like I've got nothing. I'm not doing much right now. Let me follow it." And they kind of got to the end of Phase 5, and I was wondering where Fantastic Four was, because the end of Phase 5 is Thunderbolts in July of 2024. And Fantastic Four hadn't been mentioned yet. And so this is where it is. It's the start of Phase 6, which is nuts to think about, that we're already getting to Phase 6. And that was the tip of the iceberg with Phase 6 news. They announced the next 2 Avengers films on top of announcing that Fantastic Four starts Phase 6.
I don't know what the bigger surprise is, that they announced the next 2 Avengers movies, or the fact that they're not until Phase 6.
I was expecting there to be an Avengers movie kind of at the end of Phase 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a little surprising to me that it's that far away. But if you look actual, like, physical time wise, it's not that far away. We're only 3 years away from the end of Phase 6. Because the entirety of Phase 6 is a year long.
Yeah.
The first movie in Phase 6 being Fantastic Four on November 8th, 2024. The end of Phase 6 ends with that second Avengers film coming out on November 7th, 2024. Now, as for what those Avengers films are, the first of these 2 Avengers films, being Avengers 5, is Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. I want to know what happens at the end of Ant-Man Quantumania at this point, because Kang the Conqueror is the villain of that, and if we're getting an Avengers film titled The Kang Dynasty, it means Kang won.
Yeah.
I don't know if this means Kang wins in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, or if this means he wins in Loki Season 2, because we got a release window for that as well next summer. And he was shown at the end of Loki Season 1. So Kang is, when Feige said that the next big Marvel villain was coming soon, it was Kang.
Yeah.
We have already seen him. We've seen him at the end of Loki. And yeah, I mean, if I were to pick anyone to have been next, Kang, since we had already seen him, that fits. So yeah, Avengers 5 is the Kang Dynasty, and that got a release date of May 2nd, 2025. I'm sitting here because they put the whole, Phase 6 graphic up, so I'm looking at that for the release dates.
Something I think is odd, though, is that if Kang is going to be the villain for Phase 6, definitely, and I mean Phase 5, it looks like, between Quantumania and Loki Season 2, it just seems odd that he was introduced at the end of really one of an early show, and then we're gonna see him in an Ant-Man movie, and then back in a show. Like, those aren't big, like, it's not like an
Yeah.
Avengers kind of thing,
You also have to think about Kang's entire thing is he's got variants in every universe.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously at the end of Loki season 1, we saw Kang the Conqueror in a Kang the Conqueror suit. Now, we don't know if that is the same Kang the Conqueror that is in Quantumania. I would make the fair assumption that it is. I also don't know. We still have to watch all these films. We have to get all the way through Phase 6 to see where this is going. Get through Loki, get through Quantumania. It could be that the end of Loki season 1 was teasing Kang the Conqueror for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. And then Loki season 2 is actually not going to deal with Kang the Conqueror, and he's kind of going to get set up to be seen again in the Kang Dynasty. So I'm interested. I am interested to see how he flows through all of these projects, because we've seen him pretty early, and he's the villain of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. He's not in the background like Thanos was.
Yeah.
He's going to be at the front of that movie already. So yeah, I'm interested to see how he threads through this, because that's going to be a pretty big thing. But the even bigger thing than that is this second Avengers movie in the new saga.
Mm-hmm.
It is massive. I mean, it is exactly what it's what we could tell they were building to, but I did not think we were going to be this close to it already. And that is releasing, also surprisingly, 6 months after Avengers the Kang Dynasty. Both of these movies released in the same year. So they're even closer together than Infinity War and Endgame. And I'm going to very easily assume that they're going to be filmed back to back the same way that Infinity War and Endgame were filmed. It is Avengers Secret Wars. They have officially announced and given a release date to Secret Wars. And that is massive for the multiverse. And fittingly, got a name for the new saga as well. This is the Multiverse Saga. Phases 1 through 3 were the Infinity Saga. This is the Multiverse Saga. So I don't even know what to expect for Secret Wars. Obviously, it's going to be Secret Wars. There's going to be a battle world brought together from the multiverse. My biggest assumption is going to be that Kang tears the multiverse down and brings every multiverse into one planet and creates the battle world.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's nuts. That would be absolutely nuts. And I also think this can lend a little bit more into an idea of what the rest of Phase 6 could be. But we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, Secret Wars is huge, and we can have so many characters returning. I mean, the Russo brothers said if they were to return for any film, it would be Secret Wars. And now they helmed Infinity War and Endgame, and they were able to create those into the amazing stories that they were. So I would have faith in their Secret Wars ability, but I'm interested to see, does Marvel go back to the Russo brothers to finish this saga as well, or do they try and go for something else? Do they go for someone different to bring everything together? And that'll be an interesting thing from the director's standpoint. Obviously, this is 3 years away, and this is very similar to the Phase 3 announcement that is kind of the classic Marvel Comic-Con panel that all of these have been building off of, when they dropped all of Phase 3 and we got Civil War and Doctor Strange and all of those announcements. And that was over a 3-year time period, and that showed us 9 films that were announced at that time that were leading up to what was at the time named Infinity War Part 1 and 2, later on became Endgame. This alone is 11 projects in a year. And that is correct. Phase 6 is 11 Marvel projects in the span of 12 months.
Yeah.
7 of those fall, or 8 of those, I believe, fall in 2025. 7 or 8 of those fall in 2025. So there's a lot to Phase 6. And it's going to be fast. It's going to be surprisingly fast. Like, you think about, like, the time between WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness was a year and 3 months between the finale and or 2.5 months or something between the finale and the release of Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. In less than that time, we will be getting just the entirety
of Phase 6
of the last phase. Yeah, the entirety of Phase 6. The entirety of the last phase of the Multiverse Saga. We know that there are 8 more projects. We have 8 more release windows.
Mm-hmm.
The Fantastic Four and the 2 Avengers films, Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, were given release dates. Everything else on this list is given a release window, not a date. And so we get a lot. But here's how it stacks up. They have Fall 2024, which in this list seems to be put before Fantastic Four. So I don't know if that's just graphically that's how they made it look cleaner, or if it actually comes before Phase 4, considering they said Phase 4 starts with the Fantastic Four. However, it could be a show that comes out before Fantastic Four, and they're really saying, like, they're still basing the phases off of movies.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Phase 4 starts with Fantastic Four, and then, like, this show may just kind of lead in with Phase 6 and kind of release at the same time as Fantastic Four. But Fall 2024 project, November 8th, 2024 is Fantastic Four. Another Fall 2024 project, which I'm assuming those are going to be like a September 2024 and November 2024. And then we have a Winter 2024 project. So I would come to say, I would think that Winter 2024 project is a movie rather than a series.
Yeah, I don't think
because I mean, we had that happen this past year with Eternals and No Way Home. But so let's just stick with those 2024s for now. Obviously, there's a whole lot of things up in the air, but what do you think could fall into those release dates? Or really, honestly, in any of these release dates, I'll go through the rest of the release dates. I'll say everything that's got an open slate, and we can both kind of put what we think is going to release or what the possibilities are. So
I think you're right with the
go ahead.
The Fall 2024 show, TV show. And then you've got the November Fantastic Four. But there's not a lot, unless they start that other Fall 2024. If that's like a 6-week show, then you would have to start it like right after Fantastic, like the week after, for it to fit in the fall. Or is that just when it starts?
At this,
like, I don't even know.
I would go by that's when it starts. If it's a
I
show,
can see it starting like
I'm going to say that's
like around then.
Yeah, because like I count like the release date as like obviously for the show it's the day it starts. So when they said like Moon Knight was going to be spring and then they released it in March, that fell into the spring window. And yeah, so fall, I think fall counts as September, October, November, I believe is what they counted as, September, October, November. And then I think winter is December, January, February. Spring is March, April, May. And then June, July, August is summer.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how they classify it. So we have 2 fall 2024s. I would think they are both shows. And one's, end of September. One's going to be late to mid-November around Fantastic Four. And we're going to get a movie kind of Christmas time, similar to No Way Home. Following that, we have another Winter 2025. That could be a show or a movie because they could throw in a February release for a movie.
Yeah.
Or they could obviously have a January movie or a January show, a February show, whatever. There's another Spring 2025. There's actually 2 Spring 2025s.
Which lead into the Kang Dynasty in May.
Yeah, which May. I'm going to assume one of those is going to be connected to the Kang Dynasty.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily say both of them will be. It could be that neither of them are connected, but usually the movie before an Avengers film has kind of led into that Avengers film and in someone who's going to be a larger part. Like before Infinity War, we got Black Panther, and Wakanda was a major setting of Infinity War. Before we got Endgame, we had Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel became a decent player in Endgame. And so I feel like one of those is going to at least tie in. It's hard because when you're fitting so much into 12 months and you're trying to discern whether something's going to be a movie or a TV show, you have to look at release windows because there's going to come a point where it's one thing for TV shows to overlap each other, but movies overlapping each other is a bit more difficult because when you have a movie come out and then you release another movie, let's say before that first movie is more widely available, it's going to stack up very quickly for people.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, we're going to watch it all, but that stacks up quickly. So this is where it gets really difficult with them having so many release dates on top of each other.
The movies end up competing with each other.
Yeah, they become their own competition. So that's why I'm considering that most of these release dates are going to alternate with a movie and a TV show. So winter 2024, I'd assume would be a like late January, early February movie and a TV show. Spring 2025, I would assume would be a mid to late March or an early April film, which that early April film, if it is early April, would come very, very close to Avengers, the Kang Dynasty. So I'm more leaning towards a late March. So that would give us...
I could see both of those spring 2025 projects being shows because it's not impossible for them to do 2 shows in a row. I mean, before...
Yeah.
What do we have?
They can line it up.
We had Moon Knight, then Kenobi. Did we have a show before Moon Knight? But after Moon Knight, is She-Hulk?
I think I think it's going to get... This is getting to the point where Disney Plus is not going to stack releases between franchises. I like Marvel literally doesn't have the room to not consistently and follow Marvel's own schedule at this point. Because Lucasfilm obviously said they have plans to release about 3 shows a year, like in the coming years. Marvel doesn't have the space with these projects to wait 6 or however many weeks it takes for another show to run. So at this point, we're really looking at stacked Marvel shows.
Yeah.
And on top of all of that, we're going to have Star Wars releasing at the same time. So podcast is going to be flooded going into 2025. Yeah. If it's still happening, depending on how big we are, I'd love to see it still going and prospering through 2025. But
live long and prosper,
dude. I'm going to be graduating college in 2025. So I'm taking a 5th year. Chris is 2024. Like, we're done with college by the time these come out.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, this has been our entire lives at this point. Like, how long this has been going. But so I'm going to stick with the spring 2025 movie and a TV show. Also because they've already done this multiple times, having a TV show at finale and a movie release in the same week. They did it with Hawkeye and No Way Home, and they just did it with Moon Knight and Multiverse of Madness. So I like them doing a show straight into a movie is something they've done already. So I'm seeing that happen. And if we get, let's say a Christmas, let's say that December 18th to 25th week, we get a winter 2024 movie, and you go a month and a half later, you go like late January, early February with a winter no, wait, there's more room in there actually than I was even saying, because there's a winter 2024 movie which could be December, anywhere from December to like mid-December to I'd say mid-February, and then you can put I'd say mid-December to late January, and then you put a movie in the early to mid March, because Captain Marvel came out March 8th, and then Endgame was April 26th. So those two were less than 2 months apart.
Wow.
So that spring movie could come out up to like mid March. So yeah, I mean, they've totally got room to throw 2 movies in there if they just kind of release closer together and then have the shows in between those. So yeah, I could see up before Kang Dynasty. So from Fantastic Four to Kang Dynasty, we end up with 4 shows and 2 movies. So in total at this point in phase 6, up to the Kang Dynasty's release, I am expecting there to be 4 movies and 4 shows in total.
Mm-hmm.
There will be Fantastic Four, 2 shows around that, probably one releasing right before, one releasing right after. We'll get a movie and a show sometime between mid-December and late January. And then we will get another movie and a show sometime, well, for the show, sometime between, I would say, sometime between early March, literally up to the same week as that May 2nd Kang Dynasty release. For that movie, I would say probably those couple weeks of March, if it's a movie. I would think it's a movie, because if they're doing 6-week shows, like, that's already a month and a half on its own. So having to do a 6-week show into a 6-week show into a 6-week show into a movie, at least if one of those is a movie, it kind of, I guess, spaces it out a little bit more, gives people some break from Marvel. Because I will say, I'm always anticipating the next thing, and I'm always excited to watch the next Marvel thing. But if it was just Marvel into more thinking about Marvel, into planning more and looking more and predicting more, creating theories for everything, it would get very tiring. So I'd at least like a week or 2 of breaks in there. So now, following the Kang Dynasty, there are 2 summer 2025 releases, and then Secret Wars ends it off on November 7th, 2025. I, again, would think that one of those is a movie and one of those is a TV show, because obviously this is something they've done regularly now, is having a July movie. It's something they're doing right now. May was Multiverse of Madness. July is Thor: Love and Thunder. November is Wakanda Forever. I would assume that this would be the same structure. Mm-hmm. May is Kang Dynasty. Summer is another movie. July is another movie. November is Avengers Secret Wars. And then, again, like something we're doing right now with She-Hulk starting on August 17th, another show would start kind of mid-August and end decently close to Secret Wars, and then Secret Wars would end it. As for what movies I think are happening, I think some of these we can both agree on. I think Doctor Strange 3 is in phase 6, because that ended with Clea showing up and literally talking about how there was an incursion between multiverses and they were crashing. And since this is the Multiverse Saga, that seems like Secret Wars seems like it's going to be the multiverse falling apart and coming, like, building into one world. So that lends itself, like, perfectly. So I think definitely Doctor Strange 3 is somewhere in here. X-Men? I'm hoping I could see an X-Men or 2. I could see one of those being a show, one of those being a movie. I mean, there are the rumors of the Mutants show that they're doing. So I could see the Mutants show and then an X-Men film, and it's kind of like the show is introducing us to the mutants, which leads to the X-Men movie, and then we get Kang Dynasty. So those could literally just be something that happens really close together. Like, we could get a winter 2025, the Mutants show, or even a fall 2024, the Mutants show, and then a spring 2025 X-Men movie, and then the Kang Dynasty.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about this being the Multiverse Saga is they could have these X-Men set up in an entirely different universe at this point, and all the universes kind of get collapsed into Battleworld, and then from that, a new universe or a new multiverse is going to have to be created, and then after Battleworld is done, well, now the X-Men are here because they've kind of been pulled into this universe, and now they're part of our main universe, and maybe they could bring in some of the Fox X-Men that we enjoyed. Like, I really liked Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. She was fantastic. So maybe she could get pulled into this. Obviously, Michael Fassbender as Magneto, and he was great. Young Professor X, whose name I forgot on the last time we did the podcast, and I'm forgetting again now.
Charlie
He's
McAvoy.
also great.
Nope, he's a hockey player. James McAvoy.
James McAvoy. Is it James?
McAvoy.
Dude,
Yeah, it's definitely James McAvoy.
it's definitely James McAvoy, but I'm going to check. Yep, James McAvoy.
And
Okay.
Charlie McAvoy is in fact a hockey
Yeah,
player.
so yeah, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Sophie Turner. I would love to see all of them come into the MCU because they're great characters. Marvel is going to have their cast for people. Obviously, they're going to have a Wolverine. It's the X-Men. He's such a huge part of that. And obviously, he's not going to be Hugh Jackman. So maybe they fold in some new characters, some of the existing characters. And I think Marvel at this point is they're going to do whatever they want with whatever characters they want. And they're going to fold it into their universe. And I mean, their acquisitions are done. Like, they have all their characters at this point, or at least have some way of using all their characters, with them technically having sharing agreements with Universal for the Hulk, or like, I don't know what's up with that Universal agreement, but the Sony sharing agreement with Spider-Man, that they're going to use this multiverse to fold all the characters in, give them all proper histories and stories and backgrounds, put all of that together in Secret Wars, and then we get almost like a new MCU following Secret Wars. Now, that doesn't mean a reset. That doesn't mean we're going to see a new Captain America, a new Iron Man, and new all of these things. But, we have another Spider-Man trilogy that's going to continue through all of this. So those characters
just about to say.
Go ahead.
Where does Spider-Man fit into all this? Because, like, they've set up Tom Holland to continue as Spider-Man. And
yeah, exactly. I mean,
looking at Phase 5,
we've been told he gets a new trilogy.
I'm not seeing any Spider-Man in Phase 5. Unless it's in
so
he's gonna be in Daredevil.
The thing with
if he's gonna, I think
there's so the thing with Marvel's announcements is when they announced Phase 4, they didn't announce No Way Home, because that's kind of with the Sony sharing agreement. They technically can't announce these films, I think. So somewhere in here, there's a Spider-Man project. I don't think it's until Phase 6. I think Phase 6 is going to be the start of the next Spider-Man trilogy. He has typically been a July release. Obviously, he was delayed until December with No Way Home in the pandemic. So he could be a winter 2024. He could be a spring 2025. He could be a summer 2025. I don't know which he could be in any of those. I think one of those movies, I mean, actually, honestly, none of those movies are Spider-Man, because they don't announce that here. So they wouldn't put the release date there either, because there wasn't an open release date when they announced Phase 4. So somewhere in this, I do believe there is a Spider-Man film. I believe that is Phase 6 and not Phase 5. But at the same time, Phase 5 goes to 2024. So it's possible we get our next Spider-Man film as like a July 2024, which is 2.5 years after the last Spider-Man film, which is a decent amount of time.
At least one Spider-Man film. Because, I mean, who's to say all this time we're only going to see him once? Like, I don't know. That's just such a big casting that, like,
it is.
I expect them to use, At this point, he's a big casting.
Tom Holland did say that he's taking a break from Spider-Man and really just taking a break from acting for a year or two.
Oh, yeah. That's
so
right. He said he wanted to focus on
I would
family.
believe.
Secure the bag.
I mean, dude, when you're dating Zendaya, you're dating Zendaya. Come on. Like, you would totally be like, dude, I'm securing this bag right now. Yeah. So no, I would. We're getting one film. There's not going to be 2 Spider-Man films before Phase 6 ends. I do definitely believe that our next Spider-Man film is going to be a 2025 thing. Maybe even pushing it to 2026. But I feel like 2025, if it's like a July 2025, that puts it at 3.5 years. That's a solid amount of time. That's enough time for Tom Holland to get a solid break in. And I can't see Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars are sure as hell not happening without a Spider-Man. He is going to be a huge part of those, and seeing other versions of Spider-Man. And this is kind of, I maybe fold in a little bit of a mini Spider-Verse into this Secret Wars film.
Oh, I would love to get a live action Miles Morales.
That's happening in the next trilogy. That's surely. I honestly think part of the reason that a Spider-Man film is very likely before this is because we could get versions of Miles Morales out there too. Or maybe, look, maybe Secret Wars throws in that animated Miles. I don't want it to. I really like the Spider-Verse universe staying on its own, and I want it to stay there. But maybe they throw that in, but they want their Miles to be the first Miles shown in the MCU. I feel like that's something they definitely want to do, because Miles has never been done in live action before. And it's one thing, Professor X he's been done before. We've seen him, so putting him into Multiverse of Madness is a bit different. But when it'll be the first time we see Miles in live action, I think they want to do it themselves first. So I think definitely somewhere in Phase 6. It's not one of these release dates, because that's part of somewhere in there in the sharing agreement. That's part of it. But I think somewhere in here there's a Spider-Man film, which means we might be doubling up on Marvel films at some point, because Spider-Man's got to fit in here somewhere. So one of these could be a Thor 5. I mean, I feel like a Thor 5 is definitely possible, and obviously Chris Hemsworth would love to do it. He's Chris Hemsworth. He's always had fun playing the character, so I think a Thor 5 is definitely possible somewhere in here. And Nova. Nova is also another one I think is almost guaranteed to be in Phase 6, because he's a pretty substantial Marvel character that we haven't seen yet, and we've seen the Nova Corps in Guardians, so I think he's going to be one of the shows in here. And they're building to Young Avengers, I know that, but would they throw like Avengers, Young Avengers at us? And that's something that I don't think they would do. So maybe a Young Avengers series comes out, because they're building the Young Avengers. It's so clear. They have all the characters in the background. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is introducing Stature or Stinger, whatever they call her, because I think she's been called both in the comics. I've always thought of her as Stature. That's another Young Avengers character. So Young Avengers may be in here somewhere. But yeah, there's a lot in here that's a question. Because if it's everything that I just listed, let's say it's a Thor 5, a Doctor Strange 3, an X-Men TV show, or the Mutants TV show as a third one, and then an X-Men film. That's 4 of the 8 that we don't have, and that are like not announced yet. So there's still another 4 there that could be. Oh, sorry, Nova. So Nova's the 5th one. There's still 3 other things there that could be announced, and I could be wrong about one of those. There could be an entirely different character that shows up. I mean, a Shang-Chi 2 is a possibility as one of these films as well, because Shang-Chi is such a huge character, and everyone loved that film. So, yeah, I don't think a Black Panther 3. That is one thing I will say. I don't think it's a Black Panther 3 somewhere in here, because that trailer just dropped, and that was fantastic. I think Black Panther is going to become more of an Avengers character. They always could. Anything's on the table at this point, because we thought that this was going to be a huge announcement, and they dropped Phase 5 and Phase 6 on us. So, yeah, and the coolest part for me, now that I'm thinking about D23, I don't think we're going to have to wait long to find out what these 8 projects are. I think they're telling us what all 8 of these are at D23
right now. If they
if this wasn't the
Yeah.
big announcement,
Like, if they have dates,
what else do they have?
like release dates for Phase 6, then a year from now they're gonna know what's in between. You know, like
Exactly. If they have release dates, obviously they know what's there. And they wouldn't put out the whole Phase 6 banner with all of these release dates if they weren't going to tell us what was there soon. Because if, like, let's think back to Phase 4, and I think a lot of the ambiguity between Phase 4 and 5 came from the pandemic and how they had to shift a lot of things around, so they weren't sure when things will fully release. But like they initially said that Miss Marvel was coming out in 2021, and then it got moved all the way into June 2022. And Moon Knight was in there, and She-Hulk was in there, and we didn't really know much about those. We were told about those without release dates first. So the fact that we have release dates for things now, I'm assuming that means we're going to get told what they are pretty soon. And if D23 is the big announcements, the biggest announcements they have are going to be the 8 things they didn't show here. They're not about to drop Phase 7 on us, because why would they start talking about what comes after the next saga before this saga is when this saga is 3 years away from finishing? And again, it's a lot to do in 3 years, so I don't think they'd want to hold it back from us and have us not knowing what's coming in a couple years or in 2 years, right before that happens. I think with just how dense all of these Marvel releases are, we're gonna get Phase 6 at D23, and now obviously that's gonna mean we don't have a lot of huge Marvel announcements for the next 2 to 3 years, because
it's been announced.
They're not gonna have anything they're gonna drop everything. But I am honestly fine with them dropping everything and laying it all out and saying this is what we're doing, and then we don't have to think about all of, when's this releasing or getting this. Like when we got the Fantastic Four announcement, we have no idea when it's coming out. I like not having to guess anymore when things are coming out and what's coming out when. So yeah, I think that's what it is. I think that's what D23 is. It's the rest of Phase 6, and what's in there. We don't have the announcement's September 8th. That's less than 2 months away. It's about a month. It's probably like a month and 2 weeks away. It's a month and a half away. So they're dropping everything in this span of time, and I think that's partially to get fans' confidence back up, because Phase 4 was a little mid, not gonna lie. So yeah, they're building a lot in there. One thing that is really interesting for me, they announced the Armor Wars show back at the end of 2020. Armor Wars is not listed anywhere in Phase 5, and I don't remember it being given a release date.
So,
unless that's... Oh, no, I completely forgot about that. Armor Wars is the fall show this year.
Oh.
Because I was thinking about it, I was like, we don't have... What's the fall show this year? Yeah, Armor Wars is the fall show this year. We're getting that pretty soon. Oh, wait. Hold on a second. Oh, yeah. No, that's a lie. Armor Wars is filming this year.
There you go.
We don't have a show coming out in the fall, apparently. Apparently Armor Wars is filming this year and is supposed to come out sometime 2023 or 24. So I guess Armor Wars is one of those releases for Phase 6. But yeah, Armor Wars is somewhere in here. They haven't told us when yet, which is very interesting to me, that they're giving Fantastic Four a release date when it doesn't even have a director. But Armor Wars is going to start filming soon, and we don't even have that release date. Yeah. And see, like, oh, Secret Invasion. I mean, like, that's coming out, and that's gonna have Don Cheadle in it. But yeah, I don't know. Armor Wars isn't on here. That's really weird to me. That Armor Wars was just nowhere in Phase 5. And Phase 5 goes all the way to July 2024. So, but yeah, I mean, they dropped Phase 4. Well, Phase 4 ends in November. They dropped the trailer for Wakanda Forever. They dropped all of Phase 5. They dropped some of Phase 6 on us. And Phase 5 itself is already really cool. They dropped the She-Hulk trailer. Another one which makes me pretty excited for the show. Honestly, it's this, like, the first trailer was kind of like, it makes it seem like it's a bit of a, rom-com drama. The second trailer makes it feel like a superhero show. And I'm excited. It looked fun. It looked really good. And crazy thing at the end, Daredevil's in it. So Daredevil is back in full force in Marvel at this point because he's at the end of She-Hulk in the trailer. He was already rumored to be coming in Echo, and then they announced Daredevil Born Again. So they announced that series too, which is going to be 18 episodes long. So Daredevil's fully back. I am yet again excited for Marvel in the future. Wasn't surprised that I would be excited again for Marvel in the future, but I just wasn't excited. I wasn't expecting to be this excited for Marvel at San Diego Comic-Con. I was expecting we would really just get like solid release dates for what had already been announced, which is what the first half of the presentation was. We were getting like, the release dates for Secret Invasion and Echo, Loki Season 2. We got a release date for Blade, Ironheart, which is all things that we had announced to us already. Agatha, which has been changed from House of Harkness to Coven of Chaos. Totally going to have something to do with Scarlet Witch. So, because Coven of Chaos, Chaos Magic. Clearly there's something there. But yeah, I was not expecting to get the announcements on the end of Phase 5. I was not expecting to get any announcements on Phase 6. So, big day in Marvel. And obviously we're recording this a bit out of order. We are going to talk each other. We're talking later about Phases 4 and 5. But in release, we are releasing the episode about 4 and 5 first. And the following day we release Phase 6. So this episode, Phase 6, is coming out Wednesday at noon.
Which they will.
Obviously, like, you're listening.
Wednesday
You're already listening to it. So
yeah,
exactly. They're already listening to this, so they know it came out Wednesday at noon. But surprise, it's coming out Wednesday at noon. If you didn't figure out from the fact that you're listening to this on Wednesday at noon,
it should be like 12:45
surprise
by now.
Yeah, it would be 12:40. Yeah, 12:45. So yeah, so if you listen to this at 12, we know what time it is for you. That's magic.
Chaos magic in the multiverse of love and
Multiverse Saga of love and children. Not love, because she didn't care about Vision.
Yeah.
Of children only. Oh man, dude. Wow. I'm still like processing everything that happened because we're recording this the day of Comic-Con. I mean, this panel happened. It started 4 hours ago at this point. It's like midnight for us as we're recording this. We're recording.
Something I just thought of. Since you mentioned Vision, when are we ever going to get that resolved? The two Visions.
Somewhere in here. I mean, we've got all of Phase 6. Maybe he shows back up in Phase 6. I don't see him really show.
Since they just weren't in the Wanda movie. Doctor Strange, a.k.a. the Wanda movie.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know. I don't see him showing up until Phase 6. None of these Phase 5 projects looks like he doesn't really seem to fit into those. We'll see. But yeah, we're recording actually decently later from now. We're going to, like 2 days from now, we're going to record Phase 4 and 5. Part of the reason for that is because they dropped a bunch of trailers that we haven't seen. They dropped a trailer for Secret Invasion. They dropped a trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. They dropped a trailer for Guardians Volume 3 as well. And apparently they're all really good trailers. So we're going to hopefully wait to see if those show up on Twitter anywhere. If not, hope to see we get just some more information about them before we record those. But the Phase 4 and 5 episode, as you have listened to at this point, because it came out yesterday when you're listening to this, is a lot longer.
I mean, you've got Agatha, Coven of Chaos in Phase 5. So maybe you could see Wanda and Vision team back up to fight out Agatha.
Well, yes, but remember, Wanda's dead
Oh, yeah.
right now. Dead. So she would have to be brought back to life first. Or just, like, told that she's still alive.
Just believe in her powers and she'll be alive.
Just believe in yourself. All right, well, that's it for what we have to say about Phase 6. We got our predictions, but I don't think it's going to take long for us to be proven right or wrong or both.
Mostly wrong. That's my guess.
Mostly wrong. I think the only one I could honestly be wrong about is Thor 5. I think Doctor Strange 3 is very guaranteed in there purely because of the Clea post-credit scene of "You've caused an incursion." I think Nova just makes so much sense because he's still a pretty solid Marvel character we haven't seen yet. X-Men have got to be in there somewhere. I don't think they're not going to wait until after Secret Wars for them, because when they're doing Secret Wars, they're going to want as many Marvel characters in that as they could put when it's supposed to be the entire multiverse. So, yeah. We'll see how this goes in a month and a half. I'm so excited to see what these are. And kind of, I'm more excited to be in kind of a different state for Marvel where, obviously we know phase by phase, but now we're going to know the entirety of the next 2 phases before they start. We're going to, it's kind of crazy to think about that we're going to be watching these knowing where they're going, but not sure how they get there.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things when I'm watching Marvel, because it also makes predicting things a lot more fun, because I remember everyone was predicting that Heimdall might have had something to do with the Soul Stone in Thor Ragnarok, because it was the only stone we hadn't seen up to Infinity War, and it was the last film before Infinity War, or besides Black Panther, and we didn't think we'd see it in Black Panther. So everyone was like, oh, Heimdall can see everyone, so maybe he has something to do with souls, and his eyes are orange, and the Soul Stone is orange. But because the only reason those were made is because we knew we were getting to Infinity War. So I'm excited to get to predicting things heading into Secret Wars and trying to see how these all are going to build into Battle World and into Secret Wars and everyone fighting. And yeah, as a comic book fan, I am happy. I am so excited for these. And just what a great way for Marvel to just drag their nuts on DC today, too. Oh my God. Dude, everyone was expecting the bare minimum from DC is that they would announce the person that everyone, including the actor himself, would love to have come back as Superman, and they couldn't even do that. The only things they talked about were they dropped a trailer for Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and they talked more about Black Adam. That's it. And Shazam and Black Adam are quite literally related in, fully directly. They have the same powers pretty much. They're in direct conflict with each other. So they essentially really talked about one actual topic, and that was the Shazam related films. They even had a perfect line set up. Someone asked The Rock if Black Adam was ever going to fight Superman, and he said, well, it depends who plays Superman, which would have been a perfect time for them to bring Henry Cavill out and be like, oh yeah, I guess it's this guy. But no, they couldn't even do that. And then Marvel's like, yeah, we're going to show you everything. We don't even need to hold back. We're just going to drop everything besides the big stuff in Phase 6.
I mean, I would say they only dropped the big stuff in Phase 6.
Yeah, honestly, like they dropped Secret Wars. Like that's what everyone's been expecting. Like that might be why. That might be why they're like, you all know we're getting to Secret Wars, so let's just drop it. Like let's just say it's happening. That might be why they did it.
Yeah, who knows? Just trust blind faith in Kevin Feige. Streamline.
Yeah, pretty much blind faith that he knows where the story's going. Just hopefully the stories that take us there are good as well. Because Phase 4 was mid. I'm going to be honest, it was all right across the board. Some were good, some were worse, and they even out to just be okay. So I hope Marvel can turn around those stories back to what Phase 3 was, because Phase 3 was golden.
I would say Phase 1 missed the mark on a lot of things. Phase 2 got better, and it all built to Phase 3. Phase 4 is starting over again. So...
yeah, I guess. I mean, Phase 1... Yeah, that was... I was thinking about that earlier, too. That, yeah, Phase 4 is... You have to parallel that one more to Phase 1 than paralleling it to Phase 3. Because it's the start of the next saga. So, you got to build it up somehow. And yeah, Phase 1 did miss on some things. Obviously, Iron Man 2 is one of the biggest ones. So, Incredible Hulk is one of the biggest ones. He's the worst story in the Avengers. Is the Hulk story. So yeah, like Phase 1 isn't perfect. It had its ups and downs. Iron Man, thank God, was its up, being the first thing in it. Avengers was great. Thor was solid. Captain America 1 is solid. Iron Man 2 and Hulk weren't great. So yeah, that's like all of Phase 1. So yeah, Phase 1, solid. Phase 4 is solid. I just hope Phase 5 gets better. Wakanda Forever's trailer looked fantastic, and that's the next thing we've got coming. So hopefully this all builds well, and the stories keep getting better and better as we get to Secret Wars. But, with that being said, thank you all for watching on this fine Wednesday, or listening and watching, because we have a YouTube channel that you should all go follow, because we put there's a little bit extra in those videos, with images and intros that I animated for the show. So go ahead and check us out.
30 seconds.
Exactly. You get to see us and what we look like as we record, but I don't know how much you want to see what we look like, but at least there's cool animations that I took 5 hours on or something. So there's at least that. But thank you all for listening today, and go ahead and follow our Instagram at Darkside Deep Dive, our Twitter at DS Deep Dive, and go subscribe to our YouTube channel, that's wrong. Deep Dive Podcasts. Messed that one up. Subscribe to Deep Dive Podcasts. Please. We love it. It's free for you to do. I'm subscribed to it myself with my personal channel because I love myself and I'm actually just a narcissist.
That's true.
And that's the biggest thing. Yeah, thank you all for listening. We'll see you back next week with something to talk about that's totally not going to be as big as this is, but we'll have something for you because we love you guys and we know you guys enjoy listening, or we hope you guys enjoy listening. So, yeah.
See you in the Secret Wars.